In other news this afternoon, there is a surprising trend that is growing in the real estate world. Perhaps you are familiar with it. Parents are buying homes for their children because kids can't afford it.
$1,474. That's the average monthly payment flowing from what now everyone likes to call the bank of mom and dad to their adult children right here in 2025. A staggering 50% of American parents are now regular financial contributors. If you do the math, that's nearly $18,000 a year. That's like a small, slightly used car every year. It's a silent, massive transfer of wealth that's reshaping the very fabric of family relationships. This money often comes as an unwritten contract, packed with hidden clauses, unspoken expectations, and maybe even a requirement to like all your parents' Facebook posts. I want to uncover the real costs, the surprising scale, and most importantly, figure out how we can navigate this phenomenon in a way that strengthens rather than strains your family and your finances. Stick around, this could get really spicy.
Some buyers are staying competitive with all cash offers, and that includes parents and older adults buying homes for their adult children.
Let's first look at the sheer scale of this. We're not talking about a 20 in your birthday card. As I mentioned, half of US parents are providing regular financial support, and there's a clear generational pattern emerging here. For Gen Z adults, those roughly between the age of 18 and 28, the average monthly support they receive from their parents is about $1,800. For millennials like, myself, aged 29 to 44, it's closer to $863 a month. That Gen Z figure, $1,800 a month, even after accounting for inflation, that's a pretty big number. Now, before we get into why this is a big deal, let's bust a few common myths floating around about the bank of mom and dad. Because like all good family legends, some parts are truer than the others. Myth number 1. That money is just for the big stuff, like a house down payment. Well, not entirely. While down payments are certainly a part of it, the data shows it's a much broader and perhaps more surprising picture. A survey indicates that 83% of parents providing support are helping with everyday groceries, 65% are contributing to phone bills, and believe it or not, 46% are even helping fund vacations. Yeah, exactly, that ancient parental duty of bankrolling your soul-searching Eat, Pray, Love trip to Bali. Now that's what we're talking about. So this is often about sustaining a certain lifestyle and not just hitting major milestones. Myth number 2, it's just temporary help to get them on their feet. That's what many parents hope, and maybe what many adult children probably mumble while accepting the funds. But the reality is often different. The average duration of this kind of parental support is now stretching to over 3 years. And perhaps more telling, only about 40% of parents currently providing support plan to, shall we say, close the bank branch within the next 2 years. For many, the temporary help is becoming a long-term financial umbilical cord. Myth number 3. It's just money and it doesn't really affect my family dynamics. But the truth is, money is rarely money, especially in families. It's like adding this mystery ingredient to a well-known recipe. Sometimes it enhances it and sometimes it just makes everyone salty. 77% of parents who provide financial support admit that they attach certain conditions or expectations to it, even if those aren't always voiced out loud. More like how my mom telepathically projects her feelings during dinner and dad is supposed to catch every bit of it. This can create some really complex and often uncomfortable undercurrents. So now that we've cleared up some misconceptions, let's see how this dramatically impacts your relationships and your finances of both generations. This is where things get really interesting. First, let's look at the parent impact. Imagine a set of parents, let's say they're 55 today. Their goal is to retire at 65 with a $1 million nest egg. You know, the dream. They're diligently saving $1,000 a month for themselves. But they're also providing $1,500 a month to their adult child, little Timmy of course, who's finding himself via a very expensive artisanal pickle making course. If we run the numbers, continuing that $1,500 support payment means they might not hit their $1 million goal until many years farther than target. However, if they were to redirect that $1,500 into their own retirement savings, they could potentially hit the $1 million sooner or even accumulate an extra $250,000 by their original retirement age of 65. That's a lot of artisanal pickles they could be buying for themselves.
Now that he's graduated, rents are still crazy expensive. He doesn't want to throw away money. I didn't want him to throw away money on something that he would never actually end up owning. And it just made more sense for us to purchase something else that he could have to live in.
Now let's see what the impact on the adult child Timmy is. Let's say Timmy is earning $3,500 a month after taxes. Their essential expenses are $3,000. So on their own, they can save about $500 a month. If their goal is to save $20,000 for a down payment, that would take them 40 months or just over 3 years. A perfectly respectable adulting achievement. But now, add in that $1,500 a month from the bank of mom and dad. Suddenly, their savings capacity jumps to $2,000 a month. That $20,000 goal, they can now reach it in just 10 months. That's like going from Tim Hortons to Balzac coffee in their savings plan. For a Gen Z adult receiving that $1,800 a month, that's $21,600 a year. This financial pipeline is powerful, but it also raises some big questions about long-term financial dependency and whether adulting now comes with a parental stipend. This is the rise of what pop culture calls inheritocracy, a system where your financial trajectory and access to opportunities are increasingly tied to not just your own efforts, but significantly to the wealth and support that your parents provide. This is like a feudal system, but with access to avocado toast on demand.
Banks are charging 7%. Mom and dad aren't charging 5 or 6 or 4%. They just want the principal back, and they don't mind if it takes a few years to get it.
Honestly, this effectively creates two diverging paths for young adults. Those who have access to the bank of mom and dad, and those who have to, actually figure it out themselves. And this gap, especially when it comes to major life purchases like housing, can compound dramatically over time. Let's take a common scenario, buying a first home. Suppose an average starter home in a somewhat desirable tier 2 town costs $400 and you need 20% down payment. That's $80,000. If someone is diligently saving $500 a month or $6,000 a year, it would take them over 13 years to save up that $80,000. Now enter the bank of mom and dad with an $80,000 gift, and suddenly that 13-year waiting period vanishes. Now you're building equity years earlier while your less parentally funded friends and peers are still arguing with landlords about leaky faucets. If we project this out, assuming a modest annual income appreciation of, let's say, 3.5%, the person who bought 13 years earlier due to parental help could have hundreds of thousands of dollars more in home equity after 30 years. Beyond housing, this compounding advantage extends to being able to do a few different things, like invest earlier, take entrepreneurial risks with a safety net, or pursue further education with less debt. The implications are profound, but let's flip the coin. What about the parents? What's the view from the other side of the teller's window at the bank of mom and dad? For many, it involves significant personal sacrifice. This half-empty cup could symbolize what many parents aren't openly discussing with their children: the impact on their own financial security, especially their retirement. Statistics indicate that roughly 50% of parents providing substantial support say they've had to sacrifice their own financial security to do so. This can mean delaying their own retirement, living more frugally than they'd planned for, or even taking on debt in the later working years. And there's often an unspoken pressure. About 40% of these parents admit that they feel a sense of obligation or pressure to provide this support, even if it significantly strains their own resources. Behavioral economists might point to hyperbolic discounting here, valuing immediate emotional rewards, helping their child now over larger future costs, a less secure retirement. And now we arrive at perhaps the most delicate part of this whole phenomena: The hidden strings, the unspoken terms of that contract I mentioned at the start. A financial advisor I spoke with put it very bluntly. She said, and I quote, "Mark my words, almost every significant deposit from the bank of mom and dad comes with implicit strings attached. One of the biggest unspoken ones, the expectation of the right to age comfortably and with dignity, perhaps even in their child's home or with their child's direct care down the line. So that monthly rent top-up might also be an installment payment on your future role as live-in caregivers. These strings can also take many other forms. Influence over major life decisions. The bank of mom and dad sometimes has this surprisingly strong opinion on your choice of partner. Consider it interest payments in the currency of unsolicited advice, expected regular contacts and visits, input on parenting decisions when grandchildren arrive, and yes, anticipated future caregiving or co-living with you. The most challenging part is perhaps that these costs are rarely itemized or discussed openly. The money just flows, but the mutual expectation often remains unspoken, potentially leading to what you might call as relationship debt. So if this current, often unspoken system has so many potential pitfalls for both generations, is there a better way? A way that doesn't involve passive-aggressive Thanksgiving dinners? I believe there is. It involves moving from implicit assumptions to explicit agreements and a focus on empowerment. Here's a three-part independence framework. Part 1, the transparency contract. This is all about having those conversations that might feel awkward but are absolutely crucial. This is where you sit down and have the talk. No, not that talk, the other awkward talk about money, and answer these really 4 important questions. Purpose. What is this financial support for? Is it a general subsidy or a specific goal like Operation Get Timmy Out of the Basement? Nature. Is this a gift, a loan, an advance, or an inheritance? What are the conditions? What, if any, are the expectations from both sides? Timeline. Is this support indefinite or is there an agreed upon sunset clause? Writing some of this down even informally ensures clarity and prevents future misunderstandings. It protects the relationship. Part 2, the step-down approach. For ongoing support, rather than an abrupt cutoff or an indefinite flow, a gradual planned reduction can be incredibly effective. It's like weaning a financial baby bird off a parental nest worm. Gently, until they can fly away, or at least Google how to budget. Create a 12 to 24 month plan where support reduces clearly and proportionately each quarter. This gives the adult child a predictable runway. Crucially, this should also involve regular accountability checkpoints, say every 3 months, to discuss progress, challenges, and whether Timmy has sold any pickles yet. Part 3, the skills transfer. Ultimately, the most valuable and lasting support parents can provide isn't just cash, but knowledge and capability. Instead of just handing over fish, teach them how to fish. Parents can share their own life experiences with budgeting, saving, and investing. They can help children understand credit and manage debt more wisely. This might involve co-working with them and co-creating a budget, or even gifting a session with a fee-only financial planner. There are so many options out there. For adult children like our little Timmy, it's about proactively seeking this knowledge and building financial confidence, which is a huge step forward towards true independence. The bank of mom and dad isn't inherently a bad thing. It often comes from a place of immense love. But like any other financial arrangement, its success and health depends on how it's structured and managed. Otherwise, it's just a recipe for awkward holiday dinners. Moving from unspoken assumptions to clear, transparent arrangements and a focus on building financial independence is key. It's about empowering both generations. I am really curious to hear about your experiences. Are you a parent running a branch of this bank, or are you an adult child with a hefty credit line? What are the unspoken rules in your family around money? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below, respectively, of course. Unless it's too traumatic, then maybe just give us the G-rated details. If you found this deep dive helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content that aims to demystify this complex world of finance, economics, and world affairs. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one and have a great day. Oh, and Timmy, try not to raid the Parental ATM too hard this week. Okay, now have a great day.